Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, the Glass Lord, trying something different tonight with a little bit of, you know, co-op stuff. This is something my wife picks. This is what we're going to do. So, yeah.
And it may be lame, so we don't know. We've not tried this, so.
We're going to find out. So, this is a thing called Choose Your Story.
And I saw Jenna Marbles and Julian doing it, so I was like, I want to try doing that.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do.
So that's what we're going to do. So, I don't know. What story do you guys want to do? All right.
Let's see, there's fantasy, modern, what is that?
Put your glasses on.
Sci-fi, mystery, puzzle. Maybe mystery puzzle? Sounds kind of cool.
I don't know.
Fan fiction.
You say horror? Horror?
Horror?
Horror? Maybe.
There's a lot of, like, zombie stuff. Let's see. Zombie survival? What do you want to do?
I don't know. Is it I want to make sure it's capturing the screen real quick.
Okay.
But I guess we can keep looking through them. What's
Yeah.
the... I guess this is going to be kind of like D&D, but we're not rolling.
I don't know. Guess I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Yeah, we're good.
So you want to do something scary? Oh, there's more than this. There's 130.
Yeah, so let's click on it and open it up.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
Oh, and there's difficulty.
ratings out of 10.
Let's
Is
do
it
something
out
in
of
the
10?
6 or 7. Yeah, there was
This
a
one
6
got
and there was a 7.
Should we do this one?
I'm cool with that. What's that one called?
I guess it's out of 10. I don't see any like 8s or 9s.
The phone is gonna die.
Let's try it. Let's just see what happens.
Let's just dive right in and see.
Let's just dive in there.
We'll just see what happens. And guys, if you can't hear us or something, let me know in the chat, because we're still messing around with the audio levels.
We're
You know what I'm
still
saying?
noobs.
Like.
Okay.
So, while I'm playing around with the audio levels, I mean, I need y'all to help along.
I'm gonna read this. What's underneath it? Can you survive the zombie apocalypse? While challenging, it's not as hard as the movies would have you believe, where they always make the worst possible decisions for the sake of drama. At least here you'll be offered logical choices amid the foolhardy, and your character cares about survival even more than you do. A serious game with gory detail. So I guess if you're not into gory stuff, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Right now.
Hold on, let me see if I can zoom in on that text.
Yeah, please, because, yeah. I guess I get my glasses.
Look at that.
Oh,
Is that
never
better
mind.
for you?
Yeah, that's better. That's so much better.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Wait, hold on. We're probably cutting part of that off with our...
I don't know. That's fine. I mean, I can see that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. So we pick a character first, I guess?
Well, it just says play.
No, it says cameo. Oh,
Draw
try to
them
find them
all.
all. Try to find them all.
It's a lot of reading. Pages are filled with lengthy descriptions of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Story's quite long. Over 2. Well, we don't have to do all of this. We can just, test it out and see what, if we like it or not. Get the best ending or the highest score. Each choice is assigned a value from 10 to 15 to 50 points. Generally, 10 points are given for bad decisions, 30 points for neutral decisions, and 50 points for the most logical choices. 20 and 40 are also awarded when certain choices fall between the other values. Your final score at the end of the game is the total of the decisions made, multiplied by a number of special factors, depending on what you accomplish. Cool, cool, cool.
Dead man walking.
Here we go. You're drifting through darkness, floating weightless in an inky black void. Slowly you realize you are not quite awake, but coming out of unconsciousness. You must have passed out for some reason. You try to sit up, but some unseen force holds your body down. With a note of frustration, you realize again that you're not fully awake. Focusing your will, you try to start yourself awake, and for a moment it seems to work. You sit up and look around and see that you're in a dark tunnel with very little light. You notice a man stooped over some object to your right and try to call out to him, but your voice doesn't work. Regardless, the man turns to look at you, and it is then that you see it's not a man at all, but a smoky silhouette of shadow in vaguely a man-like shape. The thing sets upon you in a flash, and you feel a smothering presence empowering you in a darkness, wrapping you up, holding you down, trying to invade you. In panic, you jolt awake, this time for real. The first thing you notice is a sharp stabbing pain in your head. Reaching up, you feel your hair matted in blood and grimace as you run your fingers over the jagged edges of what must surely be a serious head wound. Part of your scalp has actually been torn free of your skull and hangs in a greasy mess over your ear. You're not bleeding from the wound very much. It seems to have clotted, but you definitely should get it seen by a medical professional sooner or later. Duly noted. In addition, your left arm, shoulder, and side are numb. Moving them slightly, you wince at small twinges of pain here and there, but are relieved to see that they're not broken, though it does seem that you've been thrown down on that side recently and with significant force. Sitting yourself up against a wall of cool, damp stone, you take in your surroundings. The floor is of hard, packed dirt with a thick layer of dust on top, and from what you can feel, quite a bit of shattered safety glass lays around you. In the air, you smell a bit of smoke and a mix of smoke and ozone, like when an electrical outlet shorts out. That and the heavy stink of blood, your own maybe. You do seem to have lost quite a bit, and something reminiscent of burning hair. All in all, it's somewhat hard to breathe, as if you're not quite getting enough oxygen with each breath. It's very dark, but a dim greenish glow stemming from a huge mass of twisted metal before you gives enough illumination to at least make out your hand in front of your face, as well as what's immediately around you. Looking at the mass in front of you, you can see that it is the wreckage of a subway train, or perhaps even two trains, as if one had run up into another on the same track. Now, however, the subway cars choke the dark tunnel you're in, cast zigzag across the tracks in a crumpled and jagged pile of wreckage. The greenish glow comes from inside the smashed train cars themselves, and you surmise that it would be illumination from the emergency exits. Looking to your right, you see a mangled body without a head. You shudder and wonder what it was you saw standing over that body in your half-conscious dream state. Thinking back, you try to remember how you could have arrived in such a predicament, but you can't get past the pain in your head. Your memory is all cloudy. How much of it have you lost? All of it, apparently. You can't even recall your own name. Looking yourself over for a clue to your own identity, you note that you're wearing reasonably savvy business attire with a gold watch. Unfortunately, the watch is broken, its face smashed, and the hands stopped at 7:40 a.m. Checking your back pocket, you find your wallet, and upon looking inside, you find your license. You're making mental notes of some of this stuff, because we may have to remember some of this
I
stuff.
am making notes.
Okay. Greg Bradley, you say to yourself, reading the name off the ID. The address shows a street in the suburbs. There's also a photo of the wife and kids, you guess. The woman is pretty enough, and there are two cute girls, a 10-year-old and a younger one, maybe 7. A twinge of frustration creeps into your mind. Why can't you remember anything? Isn't seeing things like this supposed to jar a memory or something? You take the photo out of the wallet and tuck it in your breast pocket. Checking the rest of the contents, you find a number of low-end credit cards, $50 cash, and a half dozen of your own business cards, showing that you're an accountant for the Morgan Corporation located on the 24th floor of a Summit Tower. Also in your possession is a crushed cell phone, totally dead, and a ring of keys, including the key and fob to a Toyota, a house key, a P.O. box key, a padlock key, and what you think is an elevator key marked ST24. Incidentally, your keychain also includes a small LED pen light, which upon testing in the darkness of the tunnel seems to offer minuscule comfort against the engulfing blackness. It occurs to you that you should probably find something to bandage your head with. You consider for a moment trying to use your shirt as a makeshift bandage. It seems to work in the movies. It's then that you hear the rattle of movement from within the pile of train wreckage before you, followed by a long, mournful sounding groan. Instinctively, you quickly turn off your pin light and remain still, waiting to see what it is, the noise, without yet revealing your presence. You don't hear the sound again and wonder if some injured person is trapped there in the twisted subway cars, waiting for you to make the first move. Okay, so we have options here. We can either wait quietly for help to arrive.
Nah, that's bullshit.
Bind your head with cloth from your shirt. Call out to whoever is in there. Try to sneak towards the source of the sound without revealing your presence. Ignore the sound and climb through the wreckage to the front of the subway train. Or ignore the sound and climb through the wreckage to the rear of the subway train. I'm gonna go with we should try to sneak towards the source.
Yeah.
Without revealing our presence.
Yep.
Do you think
100.
that's what we should do?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay. Hell yeah. Hauling yourself up, you cautiously move toward the sound of the person seemingly trapped in the wreckage. Climbing up the caved inside of an overturned subway car, you peer over to see a horrific sight. Train cars and bodies are smashed together in a grisly mess that makes your stomach lurch. Severed limbs and broken corpses litter the debris, while one particularly gruesome body has literally had its entrails torn out and spread over a large bloody swath. Of particularly chilling detail, you notice shuffling footprints moving through the mess, leaving a trail on the other side of the pile-up and headed off toward the front of the train wreck. You again hear the moaning and follow it to where two train cars have slammed together side to side. There, a man is trapped between the two cars, just above the waist. You have no idea how he can still be alive, as the damage looks grave. You can't see it from here, but you can imagine his pelvis and legs have probably been sheared off, and right now only the pressure of the train car slammed together holds his insides from falling out beneath him. The man looks like he is in shock.
Oh no.
And moans, still trying to pull free now and again, but without much real effort. You notice a lot of blood around his mouth and throat, probably what he has spit up since getting pinned. Okay, so these are options. We can go to see if you can help this poor soul. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks.
Nah, that's terrible.
Ignore the person in the wreckage and climb through the mess to the front of the subway, following the footprints, or to the rear.
Follow the footprints.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm not scared.
You move quickly, ignoring the mess behind you and the throbbing pain of your injuries, making your way over and through the wreckage of the train cars that scatter the tunnel in the direction the train was headed before the wreck. Along the way, you see dead bodies everywhere, smashed into the twisted metal of the wrecked train cars, each more gruesome than the last. Disturbingly, you also notice an unusually large amount of entrails scattered about. You somehow doubt that many people could have been disemboweled simultaneously by a simple train wreck, even one as serious as this one appears to be. You're not sure, and you certainly don't want to get close enough to find out firsthand, but some of the bodies even look as if they have recently been savaged, as if by some wild animals rending jaws. As you further get along, you also notice a large number of bloody footprints headed in the same direction you're going. They seem to be joined by more and more footprints as you pass through one mangled subway car after another. At length, you get to the front of the train you must have been riding on. In walking, you surmise that you have been on the train and thrown out of the window when it crashed. You must have struck your head when you landed, which knocked you out for who knows how long. On that thought, you risk approaching a random victim's arm sticking out of the wreckage to take their watch. Unlike yours, this one still works and indicates the time to be 6:04 p.m. If that is correct, your watch indicates the time of the crash. That means you are out of it for roughly 10 hours. Wow, you'd better not go back to sleep until you get yourself to a hospital, or you might not wake up again. You also find a working cell phone in the aisle as you go and see that it still works. There's no signal down there in the subway tunnel. Looking at the first car of your train, you see that it is completely flattened into the rear cars of another train. Oh, I'm not answering that. It looks as if the first train was stopped on the tracks, and your train somehow ran into the back of it at a high rate of speed. Continuing on, you cautiously pass through the scattered cars of this train with much the same scene of carnage cast before your eyes until you finally arrive at the head of the first train. Unlike your train, the first car of this train is relatively intact. You know that at the front of the train is a control room which hopefully will have at least a first aid kit if you're lucky, a working radio. As you approach, you see that all the bloody footprints leave the train at this point and continue down the tunnel in the direction the train was headed. They're quickly lost, however, in the hard-packed dirt and darkness of the tunnel itself, though following them won't be a problem. You only got one direction to go, unless you want to turn around and go back the way you came. We only have one option.
Well, I guess that's what we're doing. Same thing with this one. I've already taken us down a
You led us
dark
this
path.
way! The door to the train's control room is locked, but you're able to go outside and pull the smashed remains of the train car's windshield out, allowing you to climb inside. When the train was hit from behind, it caused the cars of both trains to accordion together, sending them sliding almost sideways down the tunnel into each other until this particular car got wedged in a narrow spot and caused the massive and jagged pileup behind it. As you enter the control room, you see that the driver of the train has been crushed to death by the front of the train as it smashed into the side of the tunnel and got wedged in. You try not to look too closely at his flattened, gore-drained shell, or the pool of mess under what's left of his seat. Checking the area, you see a map of the train lines on one wall and note that the train was headed into the city before it crashed. That makes sense to you, as you would have been traveling from your house in the suburbs to your office in the city during the morning rush. Looking around some more, you find a well-stocked first aid kit, a proper flashlight, a crowbar, some signal flares, a large fire extinguisher, a working CB radio. You also find the train's operator's book bag and his lunch in it and help yourself to the contents, seeing as he won't miss it anytime soon. You're actually surprised that it tastes so good, given that you're eating in a small room with a horribly mangled corpse just a few feet away. After eating, you wrap your wounds in proper bandages and down a couple of pain pills and a no-dose. You're pretty sure you don't want to fall asleep in here regardless of the head injury. You definitely don't feel safe down here in this tunnel of death. Packing the first aid kit, flashlight, and signal flares in the bag, you heft the crowbar into your hand and check out the CB radio. Unfortunately, it's not the portable kind, but definitely worth trying to call for help on. You consider trying to take the large fire extinguisher, but you're not sure about the weight versus utility. It can wait till you're ready to leave, so you can decide to address it again after trying the radio. So we only have one option, to try the radio.
What was his lunch?
He didn't say, but it was good.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was so delicious, and it was in a backpack for 10 hours. How delicious was it? Like,
Maybe it was like some chips and some gummies and like, you know.
Oh, so delicious.
I mean, there's things that you don't have to refrigerate. That's good. After a while trying the current channel with no response, you try calling out on the other channels. Just when you're ready to give up, you dial channel 7 and hear a voice answer you on the other end. "Help, I've been in a subway train wreck," you say over the comm. "This is Officer Main of the 3rd Precinct. Who is this? Over." My name is Greg Bradley." You identify yourself. "I'm on a wrecked subway car down in the tunnels. I don't know exactly where. Everyone on board is either dead or gone." You hear an awkward pause on the other end of the comm, and then Officer Main's voice comes back on, slow and grim. "Listen, Greg, there's no easy way to tell you this, but the whole world has gone to shit, just like the train down there. Some sort of terrorist bioweapon released on the city this morning, a poison gas or virus or the like. It caused those exposed to suffer death-like symptoms, including a semi-rigor mortis-like state, and then they go crazy with cannibalistic rage. Just like the zombies in the movies. And like the movies, you gotta hit them in the head and destroy their brain in order to put them down for good. Also, if you get bit by one, you got roughly 10 minutes before you're one of them yourself, though I did hear this one guy actually lasted 3 hours before he changed. You haven't been bitten now, have you?"
No.
he asks, pausing for a reply. "No," you say quickly, not wanting to lose contact with what could possibly be the last living soul in the city. "Alright then," Officer Main continues, "here's what you need to do. Follow the tracks to the first station and get to the streets above. The first thing you need to do is avoid contact with any zombies. Next, you need to get your bearings and know where you're going in the city. Get a street map if you can. Then, find a pry bar or tire iron and drop yourself in the nearest center of the street manhole cover. It has to be the one in the center of the main street, not a side street or a manhole cover near the curb. And unless you're Lou Ferrigno, you'll need the tire iron to lever up the 175-pound manhole cover. Obviously, a light is going to be handy down there too." "Are you still with me?" he asks. Yeah, I understand," you reply, more than a little apprehensive about some plan to go down into more dark tunnels with ravening cannibalistic zombies lurking about. "Good," he continues. "Once inside, set the manhole cover back behind you. This should keep the zombies from following you in unless you really piss them off for some reason. There shouldn't be any zombies in the sewer tunnels, or if there are, you'll be a hell of a lot less in there than on the streets. Once in the main sewer line, follow it just like you would the streets above to our precinct house here on the 3rd and Spring Street. You'll see street names marked at each intersection of the tunnels, and they run directly into the center of most streets. When you get to the 3rd and Spring Street, you'll need to be careful. The zombies are thick in this area. But we're nice and safe in our precinct house, like a fortress here, and well armed, so you don't worry once you're inside. You just have to make a dash from the street to the door is all. Are you good at running, right? Or you are good at running, right? Over. I'm injured and I got a head wound, you reply, but I suppose I can run a short distance, alright. What about the hospitals, though? I think I really need medical attention rather quickly. Over. No, don't go to any hospital. They're all overrun with the dead and undead. We have medical supplies here and a triage unit with doctors and a surgeon. You get yourself here and we can help you, you hear? Yeah, thanks for the information. I'll try to get to you. You say not really certain about it just yet. Good luck, over. Comes back the final reply. So once again, we have one option. Take a moment to give thought to the situation. Do you want to take over reading?
I like playing video games.
You don't like this?
I mean, it's okay, I guess.
It's okay again. I just thought it was something different, you know. I think it's fine. After giving it some thought, you conclude that you now have a number of things to consider. If the city really is overrun with zombies, then you'll need more than a crowbar to survive. You need real medical attention pretty soon, too. The 3rd precinct seems to offer both and is the direction the train was going. Then there's your home and family. You don't remember anything of them yet, but perhaps seeing one of them in person will trigger the return of your memories. You know they must love you and wonder if they're safe. Oh. Where was that? Has the attack spread into the suburbs, or is it contained in the city? What if it spreads further? Is this the only city to be attacked, or are there more cities across the country facing this zombie threat? You're not entirely sure how far your home is from the city, but you think that you just had a 40-minute commute. Yeah, that sounds right. You try to work out in your head how far that would be in miles if you estimate the average speed of the train when it occurs to you just to look at the line map on the wall of the control room. There you see that your suburb is 26 miles away from the Summit Station. You presume under Summit Tower where you work. Taking the green light from Summit Station to Fairmount Station, from there the yellow line to Suburbia Station. Now all you need to know is where on the green line you are currently, which you won't find out until you walk in one direction or the other to the station. Looking at your new watch, you see that it's now 6:35 p.m. with this weighing on your mind. Okay, so here are our options. Take the heavy fire extinguisher and continue heading further into the city in the direction the train was going. Leave the heavy fire extinguisher and continue heading further into the city. Take the heavy fire extinguisher and head back the way you came in the direction the train was coming from. Or leave the fire extinguisher and head back the way you came. What's the deal with the fire extinguisher? Why do we need that?
I don't know. That's my thing. Like.
Did it say anything about that?
Yeah. I don't want it. It's heavy.
Well, what if we could use it to, like, you know, hit somebody with?
I'll get tired carrying it.
You're tired carrying a fire extinguisher? You don't want to take it?
No, it's heavy.
So okay.
They keep saying it's heavy.
Which way do you want to go?
We have to go into the city, right?
Do you want to go the way the train was going, or do you want to go a different way? Or I guess if we leave it.
Yeah.
Okay, leave the heavy fire. Okay. Leaving the wrecked subway train, you move carefully through the silent darkness of the tunnel, heading further into the city. After moving without incident for 20 minutes, you suddenly hear a low moaning from ahead and feel your heart begin to race. You suddenly want to turn out your light and hide, but you need to see. You ready your crowbar and risk shining your light up the tunnel at the source of the sound. There you see 2 mangled subway passengers shuffling toward you. Obviously undead, they react to the light instantly and growl loudly, beginning a clumsy trot toward you on their zombie stiff legs. One of them looks like businessmen in a once fine suit, and the other is a teenage girl with long sandy blonde hair wearing loose jeans and a striped t-shirt. The girl also carries a broken coffee mug in one hand, probably not even realize that she's doing so. The man looks bit up pretty bad, but the teen girl only has a large gash across her stomach where you can see some of her insides. You don't actually see any bites on her, but the gash looks like something you'd get from a train wreck rather than a zombie. It makes you wonder how the hell she became a zombie in the first place. But you really don't have time to give it much more thought than that. So we can flee back the way we came.
Attack them with the crowbar.
You should be able to outrun them as long as you don't trip. You want to attack them?
Attack them with the crowbar.
Holding your flashlight in one hand and your crowbar in the other, you take a defensive stance and steel yourself for the onslaught. Lucky for you, the businessman zombie stumbles on the tracks as it approaches, slowing it down enough to line the two of them up nicely, rather than having to take them both at once. Also lucky for you, zombies aren't much for defending themselves. As the teen zombie reaches for you, with both hands you simply swing the crowbar over its arms and smash it solidly in the head. There's a loud crack as it reels back in a spray of blackish blood. Still on its feet, though, you don't want to give it a chance to recover, and dropping your light, you use both hands to clobber it again. This time, the side of the skull caves in with a wet crunch, and it falls for good. The other zombie, meanwhile, is on you fast, but being free of the first allows you to jog back enough to ready yourself again and wait for it to come to you. It does, of course, and you give it the hardest double overhand swing you can muster just as it lunges to grab you. The force of the blow instantly crushes its head down and into its nasal cavity and showers you in an explosion of the contents. The once unfortunate subway passenger falls limply to the ground while you double over to empty your stomach. Once you stop heaving, you do what you can to wipe off your face and go to retrieve your flashlight.
Big Johnner. Throwing up.
You cautiously move through the silence of the tunnel, listening carefully as you go. You'd rather be anywhere else in the world than here right now. And the temptation just to give up, lie down, and die is almost overwhelming. You've never been prone to anxiety attacks, but this shit certainly has you on the edge. After traveling for what you thought was at least an hour, you look at your watch and see that it hasn't even been a full 30 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun, you think sarcastically. After another 5 minutes or so, After another 5 or so minutes of plodding along, you begin to think you can see a dull light in the tunnel way up ahead. Turning your own light out momentarily confirms this, as you can definitely see a dull white glow in the tunnel. Maybe a station, you hope. Whatever it is, you're still a ways off, perhaps a quarter mile or so. Eventually you approach the opening at the end of the tunnel, where it empties into a large underground subway station. Your heart sinks as you draw near and hear the echoing din of a large mass of zombies from within. You hover in the darkness of the tunnel, carefully venturing forward just enough to get a look inside. 100 and some of the former subway passengers, all trapped in the rush hour mob and unable to escape the initial outbreak, pack the area, half on the landing platform itself and half down on the tracks. Those on the tracks look a lot worse for fear, most torn up from the subway crash you just came from, or even other crashes further up ahead. They moan and snarl at each other, jostling and crowding toward the edge of the loading platform, trying to most ineffectively at climbing up the 4-foot ledge. Occasionally one does manage to get up, but is quickly pulled back down by the rest trying to climb up over its back. You are reminded of a bucket of crabs you remember once seeing in May, and there's another memory. You don't need to put a lid on a full bucket of crabs. They're all trying to climb up over each other. The moment one gets to the top, it's collectively grabbed by the rest and dragged back to the bottom of the bucket. You snap out of your reflection and focus on the area itself. The zombies don't see you yet, and you doubt they'd hear you over the clamor unless you did something to intentionally attract their attention. The station is large and tiled with a high vaulted ceiling and a large play card reading Fox Park Station. You see that the light is coming from a large number of battery-powered emergency lights along the tops of the walls. You also see just beyond the crowded landing platform 2 exits. The first is a turnstile gate at the end of the platform with an escalator and a set of stairs going up the other side. The second is an open set of stairs and an escalator at the far end of the platform beyond all the zombies. On the track level itself are 2 sets of rails, both empty of any trains. Apparently the platform side is for stopping, while the outer track is for passing through. As the trains all go the same way through the tunnels, you know that there must be another tunnel and station nearby for the trains going the opposite direction. Typically it would be close enough that you could buy a ticket in the terminal above the tunnels and then simply come down the right set of escalators to your platform. You spot a dingy red metal door in the outer wall of the tunnel opposite the landing platform. While the light's not great, there's enough that you can make out the words on its surface. I cannot read anymore. Railway workers only. As you stand in the shadows of the tunnel looking over the scene, you also spot a 4-foot-long piece of heavy planking lying on the ground where you would exit the tunnel. You have to be sure not to trip over it when you're ready to go. Man, there are a lot of zombies in here. Given that, you think over your options. The open stairs and escalator at the far end of the landing platform is a no-go. Way too many zombies to get past to even think about. Then there is the turnstile exit gate with the escalator and stairs on the other side. The problem with that is, to get you to the stairs, you'll have to hop onto the landing platform with hundreds of zombies and make it to the turnstile exit gate and jam it before they swarm you. There's also the matter of the turnstiles being one way. If there are zombies on the other side of it, you won't be able to come back the way you came. The red door option on the other side of the tunnel would be much easier to get to, but if you're detected, the zombies on the tracks will move after you and block your way back to the tunnels. You don't even know if it's locked or even goes anywhere. For all you know, it may just be an access door to firefighting equipment, though you would think it would say so if that was the case. You could also try to sneak past the horde altogether while they're distracted in order to continue further down the tunnels towards the center of the city. If the rest of the stations are like this one, then you have to deal with getting out of the tunnels sooner than later. You could also just turn around and head back the way you came, trying instead to leave the city altogether rather than move any deeper into it. After weighing your odds, you make a run for the turnstile gate through the zombie horde. Use the heavy plank like a battering ram to bull push your way through the zombie horde to the turnstile gate. Try to sneak unnoticed to the red metal door. Try to sneak unnoticed through the station to the other side of the tunnel and keep going, or turn around and head back the way you came. My thing is, why would you go back the way you came if, I guess you could, but you would never find that place. You would just kind of,
Yeah.
You'd never get your head fixed, I guess.
I like story time.
I thought you just said you didn't like it.
No, I don't. I'm just being nice.
Oh. We can do something else.
Yeah, just I don't get to contribute much.
You picking?
Yeah, but that's all I'm doing.
Well, it's also a really long one. I mean, this one had really good reviews, but it's I think it said 2,100 pages long.
That's really long.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pages.
It's very, very long.
Very long.
What do you want to do?
I don't know.
I wonder if there's a shorter one.
Oh wait, it's gonna, here, click end stream if you're gonna do that.
Huh?